and welcome to Fast Horses Today for Saturday. We are going to go over the Belmont Stakes at Saturday, June 6th, over at Saratoga. Now, they have a really nice card of racing there throughout, some really nice betting opportunities there. We're going to talk about the 13th race, which is the Belmont Stakes. Has an approximate post time of 7:04 Eastern, so that's 6:04 here in the Central Time Zone, and just after 4 o'clock p.m. there in the Pacific Time Zone. 13th race, as I mentioned, we've got the Grade 1 Belmont. They're going 1.25 miles over at Saratoga, so this will be the last year that the Belmont is at 1.25 miles because they will be going back to Belmont Park next year in their traditional home and running that 1.5 miles. So let's handicap this for the 1.25 mile race as it is. We've got 9 starters before any scratches have been announced, so let's get started here. So the first couple horses, I don't really have much to say about here. I don't really think they have much of a chance, that being Vitruvian Man, the 1 horse, and then the 2 horse was Power Shift. I guess Power Shift might have a little say in this race. Looks like he might have a little speed. Todd Pletcher trained here. Mike Rapoli owns. Mike Rapoli does have the favorite, of course, in Renegade. So maybe this horse gets out and leads him a little bit. I don't know. The race is a little bit void of speed, so Power Shift might have a little bit of say. So I've narrowed this race down to 2 horses that I do like and I think they could win. I narrowed it down to 2. I do now have my pick here for the Belmont Stakes. You know, the 3 horse was Chief Wallaby. Chief Wallaby comes in for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado, and we've seen these guys team up for a lot of wins, including last year's Kentucky Derby winner and Belmont winner in Sovereignty. You know, they certainly know how to get it done together. Bill Mott knows how to get it done at Saratoga. You know, I think Chief Wallaby will run a really nice race. You know, this horse has shown some nice runnings. You know, he had gotten beaten by Commandment a couple times there in Gulfstream over there at the Fountain of Youth, as well as the Florida Derby. Now, his Kentucky Derby run, I thought was pretty admirable. Pretty nice run this horse had. You know, Junior Alvarado, I thought, gave him a really nice ride. I mean, he kind of tucked him in on that first turn, so he had a nice, easy turn. You know, they were going pretty fast early. You know, I think Chief Wallaby ran a very nice race. He ended up coming 4th, and, you know, very admirable race. So I think Chief Wallaby could run a nice race here. I could definitely see him finishing in the money. I would not be surprised. And also, it's not a secret here. He's 3-1 in the program. The 4 horse was Renegade. He will be your favorite for Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, and, you know, the group that owns it is Mike Rapoli and Partners. And, you know, this horse was the tough luck second-place finisher of the Kentucky Derby. A lot of folks out there thought this horse should have won. Had a little bit of a rough trip there in the beginning of the race. You know, got bounced around a little from that 1 hole. As we know, you know, the 1 hole is not a good spot there at Churchill Downs in those 1.25 mile races. So, you know, he took a bit of bumping there in the beginning. But, you know, Irad Ortiz, I thought, rode the horse masterfully. You know, he ended up dropping him back and had a really fast pace to run into. And this horse really came flying, only getting beaten by a neck by Golden Tempo, who we'll talk about later there. You know, Renegade is 2-1. I certainly understand why he's, you know, the program favorite and probably will ultimately being the betting favorite. I don't have Renegade winning this race, but, you know, certainly I understand why people like him. You know, he's a very nice horse. He shows up all the time. I think there's a horse here that'll be better than him today. But, you know, Renegade, nice horse. Not going to speak poorly about him, that's for sure. The 5 horse was Atinho for Chad Brown, Dylan Davis here. I don't really have much here to say. Don't want to spend too much time talking about this horse. He's 20-1. I don't think he'll do much here in this race here. The 6 horse was another Chad Brown runner. Now, Chad Brown, you know, certainly loves running horses at Saratoga. Does a great job there every summer. That's Growth Equity. That's for one of his main men, Clarovich Stables. Manny Franco on the horse here. Now, this horse comes out of a couple race win streak here, having won his maiden race over at Aqueduct in a very nice 1-turn mile race. They followed that up with a win in the Peter Pan. And, you know, there was a time where the Peter Pan was a nice prep for the Belmont Stakes, but, you know, I don't know that that's the case anymore. And certainly it's a little different with the Peter Pan being run over at Aqueduct and at 1.1 miles going 2 turns there. Nice race there, but I don't think it translates into taking on this group of horses. The 7 horse, who is Commandment for Brad Cox, John Velasquez on the horse. Commandment 6-1 in the program. Now, if you remember, Commandment was my pick in the Kentucky Derby. I felt pretty good about the horse. You know, in the Kentucky Derby, I felt like the horse really didn't have much of an excuse and my first live look of that race. But in studying this race and studying this field of horses here, I do feel like Commandment did run a nice race. I like the race he ran. He really didn't get a breather most of the way, having run 3 wide and 4 wide around a good part of that track. And then Luis Saez pressed the button on Commandment going into that far turn. And I'm not going to sit here and say he moved him too soon. I don't know about all that. But I think he just felt he did what he had to do given that circumstance. In hindsight now, maybe it was a little early, but I don't know that it would have mattered, on Kentucky Derby Day. But, it was a very fast pace. I don't think Commandment got much of a break there in that race. Ended up getting, moving, which turns out to be almost like a middle move in a regular race in 1.25 miles, and just flattened out in the stretch. Got bumped, but the bumping really was really irrelevant, to his finish in the race. But I do like the race Commandment ran that day. I'm going to go back with Commandment. I don't want to be that player that just, I saw something in this horse and the lead up to the Kentucky Derby. I thought he ran really nicely in those previous races. I thought he seemed to improve in most of them. The Kentucky Derby, good race. He didn't win, got beat by a few of these. I'm going to just throw that out, and I don't know that it'll translate into what will happen here. I'm going to select Commandment with John Velazquez. Velazquez takes the call. This horse has had several different riders in his on his back in his career. Not too sure what to make of that. I was trying to figure that out, but again, as I said in our Kentucky Derby coverage, you don't really know until you know. Unless you really have a conversation with one of the jocks or something on why they're on something as opposed to another horse. You're just kind of speculating as a horse player. So, John Velazquez, Saratoga. I do believe Velazquez is probably the leading jockey all time there. I'm going to guess that he probably passed Cordero at some point. But anyway, John Velazquez certainly knows every inch of that Saratoga track. And having him on Commandment, I think, is a wonderful thing. I think Commandment's going to win the 2026 Belmont Stakes. 6-1, we'll see what kind of price we get from Commandment. Emerging market, Chad Brown. Chad Brown's got 3 of them. It shouldn't be a surprise. He does love Saratoga. As for his main man, Klarovich, Flavian Pratt takes the call again. Pratt's been on this horse 3 times now. This horse's 4th start. Now, this horse kind of was a buzz horse in the Kentucky Derby leading up to it. He was 2 for 2. I think it's a nice horse. He broke his maiden nicely, ran a really nice race in the Louisiana Derby. The Kentucky Derby, didn't show up too well there. You can always line that race out, I guess. But I just don't know if Emerging Market is as good as a few of these other horses. I do feel like Commandment, I feel Renegade, and then I feel that Chief Wallaby are all better than him. So I'm not going to put Emerging Market in here. And then finally, let's talk about the winner of the Kentucky Derby, who is Golden Tempo for Cherie DeVaux and Jose Ortiz. I mean, what a beautifully run race this horse put on there in the Kentucky Derby to win at 23-1. So, I congratulate the horse. I congratulate Cherie DeVaux, Jose Ortiz for the job they did in this, to get this horse to the finish line that day. I think he had a really nice trip and a nice setup. That certainly helped out this horse in that race. The fractions were really, really fast. I mean, they were going sprinters fractions for 1.25 miles. And it just set up really nicely, and this horse delivered. I mean, it's not a dismissal of this horse. It just worked out for him based on his running style, and Jose Ortiz rode him perfectly. And I do believe Jose Ortiz was the difference because his brother Irad rode Renegade beautifully, and Jose just outfinished him right near the wire. So I don't think Golden Tempo is going to get that kind of same situation here in this race. There seems to be a lack of speed, so I don't see those sprint fractions happening that Golden Tempo can run into. So I don't see him, running a race like he did in the Derby. So let's recap the race and recap the bets that I'll make in the Belmont Stakes. Okay, so for the 2026 Belmont Stakes over at Saratoga, we've got some bets here to make for that race being the 13th race. First of all, I'm going to make 2 trifectas. I'm going to go $1 trifecta, 7-3 all. $1 trifecta, 7 all 3. And then I'm going to make the win bet on the 7 horse, who is Commandment. So those are the bets I'm going to make in the Belmont Stakes, going with Commandment. And whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. If you're going to mirror the plays that I made here, if you want to add or subtract to them, whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck there. Let's wish the folks over at Saratoga a very safe day of racing on Belmont Stakes Day, as well as their entire festival there at Saratoga. Let's wish them the best of luck. Let's wish ourselves some good trips. As we see, good trips, certainly, that make the difference between winning and losing, betting anywhere, any racetrack. So, as always, I do thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks for the Belmont Stakes. Thanks to everybody who's hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. If you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It just delivers the content to you. You could like, dislike, make comments. Make good comments, make bad comments. I promise to respond to everything. Let's create a discussion. So again, wish you all the best for the Belmont Stakes. Let's see if we can get Commandment home as the winner for the 2026 Belmont. Thank you.